Welcome to Wildwestfaces. Today's episode is a true story that took place in Mexico City back in 1880. A man by the name of Francisco Guerrero was a serial killer. Now, he wasn't always like this, but for whatever reason, he got a taste for it. And he didn't prey upon people who were equally matched with him. Instead, he preyed upon women of the night. For whatever reason, he would pick out these women of the night, lure them into secluded places, and then he would pull knives from his scarf, stab them to death, and leave the scene quite gruesome. He got away with it for a while, but he was caught. However, he never truly had to pay for his crimes. We think you'll enjoy this true story here on Wild West Faces. In 1880, a chilling series of murders began to unfold in Peralvillo, a neighborhood in Mexico City. The victims were typically women of the night, and their bodies were found gruesomely mutilated along the banks of the Consulado River. These horrific killings were the work of Francisco Guerrero, a shoemaker whose sinister actions earned him the notorious nickname El Chalequero. Guerrero, who lived on Calle del Padre Lecuona, had a distinctive appearance. He was often seen wearing tight cashmere pants, a crisp white shirt, a colorful sash that cleverly concealed the knife he used in his murders, a black hat trimmed with silver, shiny shoes, and an elegant vest. His polished attire, it was said, cost him nothing, as it was all paid for by his numerous mistresses. Guerrero's first victim was killed in 1880, and by the time he was apprehended in 1888, he had claimed the lives of at least 20 women. His method was disturbingly consistent. He would lure his victims to secluded spots near the river or to isolated streets. There, he would strangle them before mutilating their bodies with a knife, leaving behind a gruesome scene. His reign of terror continued unchecked, until one fateful day, when a witness to one of his murders came forward, leading to his capture in 1888. At trial, Guerrero was initially sentenced to death for his crimes, but his fate was altered by an unlikely turn of events. The President of Mexico intervened, reducing his sentence to 20 years in prison. Despite his horrific actions, Guerrero's release came in 1904, just 16 years later. Upon his return to Mexico City, he found employment as a watchman at the Protestant temple of San Jose de la Gracia. In an ironic twist, he lived with his daughters, who, like the women he had once killed, worked as ladies of the night. On April 28, 1908, Guerrero's dark past resurfaced. He claimed that a little bird sang to him, prompting memories of a troublesome man he had once encountered in San Juan. Fueled by this sudden urge to kill, he sought out a victim and found a woman nearly 80 years old. According to Guerrero's own account, they went to a secluded place to engage in sexual activity, but he soon lost interest. The woman insulted him and scratched his face, provoking an uncontrollable rage. In retaliation, he brutally beat her and slit her throat. The woman's body was soon discovered by the Consulado River, and her granddaughter identified Guerrero as the killer. He was apprehended nearby, still covered in blood, sitting in a dazed stupor. This time, Guerrero's trial was met with public outrage, and there was no mercy for the notorious serial killer. He was once again sentenced to death, and his fate seemed sealed. However, in an unexpected twist, he managed to form friendships with fellow inmates during his time in the infamous Black Palace of Lecumberri prison. Known for his charm, he was never violent with the other prisoners, though he often cried and took great care in his appearance. In a letter to the prison director, Guerrero requested that his daughters bring him new pants so he could dress as my education demands of me. But El Chalequero once again avoided the executioner's noose. He fell ill with tuberculosis, and on his 60th birthday, his daughters visited him, bringing shellfish to celebrate. Tragically, the very next day, he suffered a stroke and died. It was mere months before he was set to face his long-delayed execution. In the end, Guerrero met his death not at the hands of justice, but through the ravages of his own failing health, just as the gallows loomed ever closer.